Welcome to AFO Wealth Management Forward, a podcast powered by Arrowroot Family Office that's at the intersection of accounting, wealth management, behavioral finance, technology, and entrepreneurship. We help accounting firms and financial advisors grow their practice by going beyond the numbers as we learn from industry leaders and subject matter experts to discover the secret to their success. A podcast that highlights everything from the transformative power of AI to embracing the human-first approach of behavioral finance to help you understand the psychological and emotional relationships to money and meaning. Here is your host, Rory Henry, Director at Arrowroot Family Office and author of Holistic Guide to Wealth Management.
All righty. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I'm thrilled to bring to you another great conversation in our ongoing Holistic Guide to Wealth Management book panel. I have two wonderful guests and friends joining me today. Let me first introduce Susan Bryant. She's the CEO and founder of Unboxed Advisors. She brings over 20 years experience as a CPA. She's also a certified tax planner and a licensed investment advisor representative. Susan, thank you so much for joining the panel today.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here, Rory.
Yes. And we also have the unique CPA joining us. He is the founder of Tri-Merit Specialty Tax Services, as well as a widely followed author, lecturer, podcast host, as well as the founder of the Bridging the Gap Conference. And as he just told us pre-recording, he is known as a unicorn of knee recovery surgery. Randy, thank you for joining us today.
Well, Rory, thanks. You didn't need to share the unicorn, but I appreciate it. I appreciate, I'm really looking forward to having a fun conversation with Susan and yourself today.
Yes. And I know you both have interesting stories in, some of the topics we talk about in the book, having that greater return on relationship. I know you talk about burnout frequently here. So why don't I have Susan first start off and really talk about your story? I know you went from, I think 2 years ago, we had a conversation, Susan, your old firm, and you said, hey, Rory, I think I'm looking to move into a new venture, and you started an Unboxed Advisors. So can you kind of give our audience a little bit of background about that journey and why you created Unboxed Advisors?
Yeah, well, I feel like I'm kind of the unlikely accountant. I'm an accountant with a degree in marketing. So I don't even think I really ever intended to become a CPA, but here I am, alas. So I've worked in a very traditional accounting environment pretty much my entire career until I got to close to the end of my tenure at my prior firm, which I recently exited from a couple of years ago, as you alluded to. And in kind of restarting, I wanted to go back to kind of those relationships and really be able to advise people. And the only way to do that is to know everything about them.
Yeah.
And that is just something that takes more time. That means serving less people, but serving the people you choose to with a whole broad range, a much broader range, and a much deeper focus in solving the issues that are a priority in their financial lives. And so it's been an exciting experiment, is what I would say, and rewarding. Learned a lot. I've learned that, man, was it borderline malpractice what I was doing before?
Oh no.
Because I didn't know those people. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't know anything. I mean, really, how much did I know was the
Right.
question that I keep going back to. So, I mean, it makes me really wonder if accountants are really doing everything that they really could and should be doing, because they're just serving so many people. They can't stop to think to really know the people that they're working with. So, anyway, that's my story. I've really enjoyed doing something different.
Yeah.
And serving people and really helping them to think through things in a completely different way, which is really sort of the unboxed mantra. You know what I mean? We're never not trying to find a different way to think about something.
Yeah. And Seth was on one of the first panel discussions, and he talked about this movement from volume to value. And it's really what we talk about as far as understanding our clients, doing the holistic financial planning, having that greater return on relationship by understanding, their family, the intergenerational aspects of estate planning, right? Understanding the ins and outs of their business. Can you talk about for the audience, Susan, the different types of service offerings you have there at Unboxed?
Yeah, so we kind of have things in tiers as a guide.
Yeah.
But really the package that we ultimately create for a customer has their fingerprints on it. and is 100% customized to them. And the things that I refer to this as like the Montessori method of working with a client,
I like it.
which is like, follow the client, right?
Yeah.
What's important to them. Like we've got to keep pursuing what's important to them. But it's really a lot of the focus is you got to get the accounting straightened out, because if accounting is bad, you can't do any tax planning. If you're not doing any tax planning, then you're really not doing any investment planning. So we've got to work with the advisors, the financial advisors. I don't manage people's money. And then it's really from there going deeper into what's happening in the business, all aspects of the business, because most of the time it's messed up. I mean, like you wouldn't be surprised, and everything's hitting the bottom line, right? So the bottom line is getting mismanaged by all these operational challenges. We need to fix those. And whether that's us or someone else, an expert we bring in, we just try to make sure that those things get the attention they deserve, because otherwise they're working harder and longer to get where they want to be from an exit standpoint. So yeah. And then spending a lot of time with them just personally. I think we can all go through and say we've got to get to know people on a personal level. Yeah. And like you mentioned, Roy, like their families, their kids, their parents. I mean, we've been roped into conversations with estate planning, not just for our clients, but for our clients' parents, because it's going to have a downstream effect to them and to their kids. So we have to be connecting the dots and all of that. So that's what we're working on. But it is an experiment, because we don't know. It's just not something that's been done before. This advisory level, these services, the duration of them, how deep they go, the breadth, the depth, all of those things. We really are. We're figuring it out.
Yeah, I like it. The concierge model, I know is something that you reference and Ron Banker references, and really going, deeper with those clients and having less clients. Now let's shift over to Randy, because Randy, let's talk about your story. We can talk about your knee story. We can talk about your
So we'll start
partner
at
story.
age 12, and then we'll go to 3 weeks ago with my second knee replacement. Is that we want everything in between?
Yeah,
Is
we
that
got a
what we're
couple
doing
hours here.
All right, thanks. All right, I'll give my accounting industry story, I guess, and we'll go from there. And then we'll skip some of the other stuff. Actually, we'll start like Susan. I'm a little bit of accounting wasn't my original path. I graduated with computer science degree, did that for a year, decided I'd go into sales for a year, realized I was really bad at that, and had a light bulb moment that I should have been a CPA. So I went back to school full time, got enough hours to take the exam, not enough hours to pass. Took me 2 tries, but we got past the exam, and never actually finished an accounting degree, but had enough hours to start. And when I did that, I gave myself 4 years to start my own firm, and 3.5 years later, we started our own firm. We, meaning me, myself, and I, and started our own firm. And like Susan said, for the first 16, 17, 18 years, I was a generalist, and I was trying to help everybody. And I never, I think, said it this way, but malpractice may be one way to describe it. I could not be an expert at every industry. It was just not possible, but I was trying to help every industry and try to help everybody, and putting in way too many hours and being too controlling with touching everything and not delegating and not outsourcing and all this stuff. And for me personally, that led to a point in time where it was like, that's it, I'm done. And 16 years into my firm, I sold it. But this is where the fun starts then. And that was fun. I enjoyed it. But then started Trimerit, which we're a specialty tax firm. We support tax advisors by bringing really intricate parts of the tax code to them so they can bring it to their clients. And that's been an 18-year ride. Longest I've ever done anything, 18-year ride. Well, my marriage is 39 years this year, so I've done things longer. Yes, exactly. But that's been a lot of fun, and becoming an expert in a niche area, concentrating, kind of like Susan says, getting to know your clients. We get to know specific parts of the tax code so deep. And man, I never realized how much fun that would be to just not deal with, of 2 billion pages of text code, but hundreds of pages of text code, and be able to dig into that and be the expert at that, and know that you're offering services that are going to really, everything we do saves money for the client. It's been a lot of fun. So I guess just to kind of finish that out, I was managing partner of Tri-Merit for the first 10 years. And 8 years ago, almost to the day, we're a couple of weeks past it, I gave that role up, which was one of the best decisions I've ever made, because we as a firm took off at that moment in time. And I found my passion. Niche practice with Tri-Merit was a passion, but I found my passion for helping, move this profession forward by inspiring change. And that's been so gratifying for me for the last 8 years.
Yeah, and I know obviously you had a health scare, Randy, that you frequently talk about,
Oh, yeah.
that led to some changes there. You want to briefly touch on that for our audience?
You say briefly, but I can't do
I know you
anything
can't do
briefly.
brief.
Yeah, and it's not the knee. We already talked about one health issue. 11 years ago, I had a stroke, and that changes your outlook on a lot of things. I was super fortunate that I physically recovered very fast, but mentally, it was about a 4.5 year struggle of panic attacks and PTSD and depression, and I didn't identify everything really in the moment. Looking back, I know that's what it was now. I would say things like I would not hide it. I would tell my wife I'm having this melancholy feeling. Looking back, it was depression. So that was a 4.5 year on and off struggle. It wasn't constant. It was up and down, but for me, that kind of coincides with the last 8 years when I came out of that, a little bit after that. And that's where I found this passion for, let's make sure we can do everything possible to have people in this profession, or in any profession really, but avoid burnout, avoid putting all this undue stress on themselves. Like Susan and I both said, it was all about the client and helping everybody, and forgetting about ourselves. And so that's been that giving up managing partner, and allow myself, and fortunately my partners at Tri-Merit don't have a problem with me going out and doing this as well. That's been the stroke has led to so many positive things, which sounds odd to say. But it has led to so many positive things for me, and I feel guilty saying this, because not everybody is recovered as physically as I have, but I wouldn't change anything. I wouldn't say I wish I never would have had a stroke, which is, I know I feel a bit guilty, because there's so many people that I am not the norm when it comes to stroke survivors. There's usually people who have deficits, but that's one reason I want to do what I can to help people not put this undue stress on themselves and avoid that situation.
Yeah, well, let's speak about that undue stress, because I think you talk about the 6 types of burnout, and you've touched on it here, Randy, and Susan has too. It's we think we can help everybody. We want to fix all the problems. We're never-ending deadlines, especially in the profession here. And unappreciative clients. Can you kind of talk about those burnouts and ways that we can adjust our mindset to have a better practice?
So, a couple things. One, I can understand Randy's sentiment about reducing stress. So when I exited my prior firm, I think like the day after, it was like someone sort of just, I don't know, it was like a blood pressure thing or whatever, but it was almost like this immense burden was lifted off of my shoulders. I could feel it. It was, like I didn't realize I had normalized that stress. And that, I had normalized insanity is what I had normalized. So the other thing that I learned in exiting from that business and then in restarting was that nobody really gave a shit about me. Okay. There might've been a few people. I had one person call me, and it was like, after I got my message that I was like gone, like, are you okay? Are you like dying of cancer or something? And I was like, no. And he's like, okay, I just wanted to make sure you were okay. Like, literally, you are an accountant. Okay. We all want to place a lot of importance on the work we're doing. I totally understand that. But at the end of the day, the clients they're not going to show up at your funeral. They're it's just not that significant when you're just
Yeah.
doing tax returns. So like, sorry.
And that goes back to the return on relationship on what you're doing, Susan.
Yeah, I mean, there was no return on that relationship. I
Yeah.
invested, I gave all of myself to all of these people, thousands of people, saved them millions of dollars in taxes, and they could have cared less. Now, that's not to say there haven't been some people, yes, but it has been a slim majority, and I work with those people now. And they know I care, and I know that they care about me on a personal level. And I'm willing to work hard for them because they're willing to be great clients for me. It's a partnership versus this monetary exchange. And there's just not enough money in the world. I mean, honestly, I just don't dedicate yourself to people who really are not going to care about you.
Well, let me ask you this then, Susan. For those people who are listening here, what's your advice to them if they're just scared to make that leap of faith, to make the change that you did?
I would go back to the words of Florence Scovel Shinn, and I would say, when you see a lion on your path, you walk up to it and you face it straight on. And you cannot let those things deter you. So what? You're afraid, do it anyway.
I like it. Well, and then let me ask you this, 'cause Randy, I saw the survey that you did, and a number of the recommendations that you talk about is checking in regularly with your employees, recognizing their contributions, talking about work-life balance, removing the stigma around mental health. So can you kind of talk about, ways in which we can improve that relationship with our fellow employees or for firm owners with the people we work with?
Yeah, I understood that question, so we're good to go. So for me, the most important thing is, and I understand, clients are important and they need to be important, but for me personally, clients are serviced the way they should be serviced if the people are taken care of first. And I mean, I have lots of statistics that prove that out. Even with Tri-Merit, I can spout out statistics. We don't lose people. We've been listed as one of the top growing privately held companies in the U.S. for the last 3 years. Our turnover in 18 years is 9 people have left, and we're at 80 people total right now. So we like every year, one half a person leaves. So, but it's not just talking about it. It's not. I mean, you can look at those statistics. You can say, okay, well, you keep everybody, even if they're not, doing a job, and so yeah, sure, you can have retention if you just treat everybody with kid gloves and a cushy job. But that's not how it is. I mean, if you look at revenue per employee, we're way up there. I mean, these positive things are there. And so for me, it's a matter of just, and Susan said this, relationship with your clients, relationship with the people you work with, and things. And we've done this in a remote environment, which people say you can't do it. You can't build relationship as in a remote environment. We've done it, and there's some simple little things you could do. And I just did one yesterday. Every time a new hire comes in, my assistant, and that was another thing we can talk about. It took me forever to get an executive assistant, and which I waited way too long for that because she is awesome. But my assistant sets up a call.
She's overseas, right, Randy?
She's in Mexico.
Yeah.
So not technically, there's not a sea in between us.
Okay.
but there's a border.
There's a gulf, I think.
Yeah. There's some. Yeah. I guess if you want a straight line, there's water. So, but she'll set up a call, and it's just a one-on-one with the new person. My concern is they're like, well, who's Randy and why am I talking to him? Because I'm not part of the hiring process. I don't get involved in that anymore. I know my boundaries, my limitations, and that's just not something that I want to spend time on. But once they're hired, I want to get to know them personally. And so we get on this one-on-one call, and it's just like we're old friends talking about, hey, what do you like doing? Did you go hiking last weekend? Or do you enjoy, museums? Do you like books? They just tell me what they like. I tell them what I like, and we just connect. And right there sets the stage of, okay, I'm an important part of Tri-Merit. And that's the relationship part to me is super important. And I want to say one more thing on that. Oh, I could say about 100 more things on that. And I'll let you see if I want to go further. But I said we do this in a remote environment, and we do.
Yeah.
It's still super important to get together
In person.
And so twice a year, we have a whole team retreat where we go to an offsite location. We have people all over the country. This May, we're just weeks away. I'm not sure when this is released, but in May of 2025, we will be all getting together in Chicago. Probably 10 people that I've never met in person before, and it'll be fun to meet everybody. And then we do regional events. So we have a bunch of people in Houston, a bunch of people in Michigan in general, a bunch of people out west. And so we try to coordinate regional events where people get together, and, Trimerit will, put up X dollars to go have a pizza night or whatever and get together. So relationships for us with the people we work with, for me, has been the key to our success, and I'll never not continue to do those.
Well, it's interesting because I think one of the things that we're finding is that accountants are extremely important in the general ecosystem of the entire planet. Okay.
They're the backbone of our economy.
Right. I mean, I've decided make accounting great again is synonymous with making everything in the entire world great again. So we need this concept of service, not only to the people we're serving outwardly, but to the people we are serving inwardly. Right. Yeah. And that includes ourselves, right? But to our coworkers. And I mean, we have a lot of stakeholders. So we need to be thinking about how all of that can be cultivated. It can be curated, and honestly, that we are intentional about how we are allocating our time instead of just the default of the day, just defaulting to somebody else's process, defaulting to someone else's level of service, defaulting to someone else's expectations or boundaries or whatever. We have to get clear on that. Just like we're so good about maintaining other people's boundaries. The IRS has a rule on that. Sorry, I can't do it. Okay, FASB says I can't do this. But we can't create the rules for ourselves to follow and say, this is on my level of expectation. So I think we've got to, that has to be the new driver in the new culture that makes this profession amazing, is us being the ones to say, this is what I demand for my firm, myself, my colleagues, and my clients. These are my boundaries.
Yeah.
That's awesome. One thing I want to say real quick, Susan, because what you said at the beginning was cool. A friend of mine, Jennifer Wilson, at our conference last year, got up on stage. We had given her an award because she does such amazing things. And she looked at the audience. She said, "You are the guardian of the galaxy's economy." Saying accountants, the guardians of the galaxy's economy. I'm like, oh, but that's a really cool way to say it. So that was, I agree completely with what you see. We are very important.
We are important. I mean, probably, seriously important to so many things that are happening, not only in our country, but on our planet. And we have undervalued ourselves, and so have other people. And there's bad things that happen when accountants aren't in the room and good in the right positions. And so I feel like we should all be extremely validated in the fact that our skill sets are probably one of the most important and essential to the functioning of the free world.
Yeah. Well, speaking of skill sets, let's talk about mental health here, which is a big part of your conference, Randy. And I know in part of the report you talk about, being vulnerable, right? I think you talk about encouraging folks out there to celebrate. You said celebrate passions outside of work. So maybe from a leadership perspective, how do we create a culture where we're opening up? I know it starts from the top, right? Being vulnerable. You're very vulnerable, Randy. So let's talk about how we can improve that skill set, more of the soft skills or the personal skills we like to say, that human first approach in working with our folks.
Yeah, it has to start at the top. Doesn't it? It can start elsewhere, but at the top, meaning leadership. Right. I don't look at, when I look at leadership, I I don't know. I have a mind
Horizontal.
block on this. It's horizontal to me.
Yeah.
Like we're all here together. Now people will look at me as a leader, and I hate when they say that. I don't know why I have this block with it.
Yeah.
But if that's where I'm at, then it has to start with somebody. And so I'm not afraid to say anything. I'm not afraid to cry in front of anybody. I'm
We
not.
cried at dinner in
Yeah,
in
in San Diego,
in San
right?
Diego. Yeah.
Was
Yeah.
that where it was? In San
No,
Diego?
where we're in Vegas for Engage. And it was,
Okay.
yeah.
Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That'll happen. But you do that, and if you're vulnerable, if you're willing to share, if you're willing to show you are not perfect at everything, you don't have all the answers. There are things that you struggle with. Then everybody else is not going to be afraid. They're not going to try to power through something that's going to cause undue stress on them and cause burnout with them, because they'll know it's okay to say, I need help with this. One of the, if I can give this example, this has had such a huge impact on me just
Mhm.
from the moment in time. And I go out and you're getting me passionate now, Rory. You're getting me going.
That's what we want
I
here,
would,
Andy.
passion is one, I'll say passion about 1,000 times. I was at a fairly large CPA firm. They asked me to come out, do a discussion on mental health. And this was January. It was a pre-tax season thing. And they
Yeah.
wanted, everybody to have a mindset going into tax season of, not, overdoing themselves. And I vulnerable. I tell my story, I tell the struggles with depression, everything, post-stroke. And at the end of that session, the managing partner, who happens to be a man in this case, which unfortunately, that's probably too common that it's a man in these larger firms. I digress. Hopefully we're changing that. Hopefully we're getting a little more diversity at leadership levels, but he's really nice guy. And he comes up at the end of my presentation, thanks me and says, start sharing a story of his family struggling with depression. And he's breaking down and I'm breaking down. Everybody in the audience is breaking down. But what I saw in that moment, and they may have had this already, but I felt it,
Mhm.
that everybody in that room realized that they can go talk to him about anything. There's
Yeah.
nothing off the table. And that's because the vulnerability that he showed to share that story, the comfort that he had to break down in front of this crowd and share what was going on. And that I'll die on the pedestal of vulnerability as the key
Yeah.
thing, I think, in any leadership. I have about 4 of them that are key, but vulnerability, I always start with it from a leadership level.
Yeah.
Mm.
I just had on Dr. Daniel Crosby and Randy Johnston on a prior panel. And there's actually research that shows that people who go to therapy, men on average make 12% more annually. Women make annually 8% more. So on average, 10% more if you go to therapy. And the main predictor of earning more money is actually education. So if you get those letters next to your name, right? The tax planner, right? Or the investment advisor representative, you'll make more money. And then a big one is also mentorship, which we can talk on. It's a big indicator of success for folks, being that mentor, especially when we're working with a profession that is having a capacity issue and not having that talent. I think it's more important more than ever to have those type of programs. So I'll send that over to Susan.
I think I was very fortunate in my career, or I was I was a professional pesterer of the people who I worked for. I was like, I have a question. I have a question. I mean, like,
Yeah.
when this was when texting first got started, like, I need 2 minutes. I need 2 minutes.
Were you proficient at T9 with all the numbers?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
T9 texting.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I got so good, with my thumbs on the texting. I was like, I have a question. I have another question. I think it's a two-way street. Important for those people who have the knowledge to share it, but also important for the people who are just learning to take the initiative to reach out to the people who have the knowledge to gain it.
Yeah.
So it goes both ways. The people who have the most knowledge are going to be the most busy because they get the most tasks assigned to them because they're the ones who can actually do the work, right? So it's very challenging when you're now talking about a less skilled individual who's like, it's assigned something. Now they have to go to the person who's super busy to get the information, to do the work. It puts a strain on the more busy person. So I think there needs to be a balance around that. And in order to transfer the knowledge, in order to delegate the tasks, in order to create basically a more higher functioning professional. It's going to take time. This information, I mean, it took me 20 years plus to gain the knowledge that I have right now. And a lot of that I gained not from, reading books, but really doing the work and then going to someone who had done it before and saying, help me solve this. I don't know in this specific situation what to do. And that other person had to have the capacity in order to help me.
Yeah.
So it's a two-way street right there. But critical. And I think to Randy's point, when we also now have introduced the concept of remote work into that, now we have even more intentional communications that have to happen in order to facilitate the transfer of this knowledge and to make sure that people aren't getting stuck and aren't getting frustrated and then ultimately don't have the right attention or don't learn it properly and then they leave or they get, or they something else becomes more attractive to them because they're just lost. So the duty and the responsibility is definitely on the people who are the experienced professionals to create those pathways, to create those opportunities. But I don't think I don't think we can neglect the fact that we have to have our staff and our newbies, the folks that are a little bit more green. They have to have a lot of initiative and they have really got to start banging down and are, hitting the team's call button a little bit more frequently to get the information that they need in order to continue to be successful.
So Rory, if I can add to that a little bit, because it was really strange to me, that survey that you mentioned that we did. It was really a satisfaction survey for the accounting profession and find what creates satisfaction, what creates dissatisfaction within the profession. Yeah. And one of the findings that I found perplexing was that mentorship did not increase satisfaction levels. And I don't think, and I want to dig that deeper in our next survey, because I think it does. I just think we need to ask deeper questions on it because I think maybe the programs are not in place. And that's why people were saying it didn't increase their satisfaction level. Maybe there was not, as Susan said, intentionality on both sides about doing this. And so, but that really surprised me because I talk to people all the time in this profession. And people always are talking about how this mentor has helped them so much and this mentor has helped them so much. But often what I've heard is it's a mentor that's not in their firm that has helped them. And so maybe that's something we need to look at more. But I truly believe mentorships has a positive impact. Unfortunately, our survey didn't find that. I think we just need to ask different questions this next round. And I'm hoping that we'll see a more positive outcome on that.
Yeah, maybe let's touch on the survey too, because I think what I got out of the survey and the stats there was the middle was really getting squeezed.
Oh yeah.
You had the solo practitioners and smaller firms and you had the larger firms, but it was the middle management or the mid-sized firms that are really having issues. Can you kind of double click into that here, Randy? And
yeah, it's kind of, if you look at it, when I ended up looking at it, was kind of like a duh. Yeah, that makes sense because it's a few different ways. Firm size. Small firms, okay, we're doing our thing, we're good. We have our base of clients or our niche. Large firms, we can do everything, we can help everybody. And now these middle firms, they're trying to compete with both. We want to grow, we want to start dealing with some of these larger firm clients, but we're still also competing with these smaller firms who are more nimble and can react faster than we. And so that what was it, like 50 to 100 size firm, something like that, was the ones where we saw really the satisfaction levels go down quite a bit. And then it's the same thing, and Susan kind of just alluded to this too, it's the same thing at the level, the mid-management level, because now you're getting, controlled by somebody above you, but you're trying to manage somebody below you, and you're getting it from both ends too. And so, you may be trying to be the mentor, and this may be where we found some of the issues too. You may be that mentor level, but now you just are also, as Susan said, the one with all this knowledge, and you're doing everything, but now you're trying to help, and now you're getting, people want you to do everything, but everybody wants you to help too. And so just it kind of made sense that middle of everything was where we saw the lowest satisfaction levels, which really is an area where we need to figure out, how do we change that? Because that's where we're having an exodus. That's where people are leaving then, because they have so much stress and pressure and dissatisfaction. The most highly satisfied people in the survey were pretty much people newly in and partner level. And then it kind of, changed in between there till you got to middle, and it was the lowest. So
Yeah.
we have to address that.
I mean, I feel like I lived most of my career in that mid-level. I mean, honestly, every time you turn around, somebody wanted something more from you. It was like more. We need more time. We need more clients. I need you to take care of more staff. And it was just a constant of like, you were getting spread so thin. I think that's why, I've seen this amazing proliferation of new firm owners supporting each other on LinkedIn, where it's like, oh, I'm starting a firm. Oh, I'm starting a firm. Start helping each other. And they're like, you need to leave now, man. Exit. Like, what are you waiting for? Don't be afraid. I did it, and they're sharing their financials.
Yeah.
They're showing,
Yuri's my friend on Instagram and LinkedIn, and I'll message him from time to time. He's the fun CPA. he's putting it all out there.
Yeah.
Logan
100%.
Graff too.
Logan. Yeah.
It's amazing. It's great. And so guess what? I think that there's this awareness now that you pretty much just don't have to put up with that anymore. Or if you're going to be squeezed that thin, you might as well just go do it for yourself.
And that's what you did, Susan.
Yeah. Why are you working for the man? You know what I mean? Like, don't do it. If you're gonna take all that stress, you might as well take the risk too and benefit from the reward.
The reward, yeah.
So, I think that is it's going to be a big problem if the CPA firms can't figure it out. Otherwise, all the partners, you're going to see the partner satisfaction rate decrease because they're going to have to go back to work.
Yeah. All right, I agree. Now let's finish up here. Final thoughts. Let me throw this over to Randy. Anything that you want to share, final thoughts wise, for our audience?
Yeah, I think that the biggest thing is that we have to not be happy with status quo. There
Speaking
is
my language.
it is so easy in our profession to, consistency is a key thing. we get drummed into us, and we need consistency, but it doesn't have to be with managing your practice too, or managing your people. We can do things better. We can do things more efficient. Like Susan, the way she's building her firm and having this concierge type service now, we can, get rid of the hourly billing. That's a killer. I hate hourly billing. Personally, I've really avoided time tracking my entire career. I don't know how I've done it, but that was one of my things I never wanted to do. Even when I worked for somebody else, I don't know how I managed that. But getting rid of that, and then realize our brains are programmed to see, obviously short-term pain, hey, something's flying at me, I'll get out of the way. We're programmed that. And we see that with change too. Oh, change. No, I can't do that. It's going to be too painful to make change. But what we don't see is this long-term gain that all this change is going to create. And if we see that, if we can get out of the short-term window and more into that long-term planning, we're just going to have so much more fun. We're going to keep people in this profession. We're going to all be smiling every day we go into our desk because I get to do this another day. And so, just don't be afraid to change and figure out a way to manage it. Yeah.
I agree here. Let me throw it over to Susan. Susan, you basically have a concierge type model of the virtual family office I talk about throughout the book, having that greater return on relationship. You deeply know your clients, and it seems like you have peace of mind and a profitable business there. So you want to provide any closing thoughts to our audience?
Well, if the listener is a CPA who is squeezed in some capacity or another, either with the fact that they're kind of stuck in the old ways, trying to figure out how to break out of those, I would say go back to figuring out and asking yourself the question, what do I really want? What am I really trying to get out of this, whether it's my career or my business? Build your normal, healthy boundaries around that. Start rowing in that direction. And baby step after baby step, make yourself move forward. So don't get stuck. I like to call it never not trying. We're never not trying. We're always trying. We're always trying. Even though the book Atomic Habits made me crazy, like thinking about like I have to get 1% better. Like I can't think that way, but every day we just try to do something to move ourselves toward the goal that we're trying to achieve. So work on that and get really laser focused on it. I mean, we even CPAs, we get on the hamster wheel of tasks and busyness. And then we look up and you're like, 5 years of my life has just gone by. What am I doing here? So take the time to figure out what it is you really want and start pursuing it like you've never pursued anything else in your life. You will get there and you will be happier because you will have created boundaries and a system and a process for what it is you want. And then you're going to be like Randy, and you're going to be like setting a vision for not just yourself, but for all these other people and potentially an entire profession. So go get them, Tiger.
I love it, Susan. All right, Randy, bridging the gap.
Yes. We're having a conference.
When is it? How do people get tickets?
Yeah, it's year 3 of Bridging the Gap, July 22nd through 24th in Denver, Colorado. Rory, you will be speaking at the event. Looking forward to that. Talking about ROR and ROI, both talking about people and the importance of that. Tickets are at btgconference.com. We're currently in the early bird pricing phase, which ends May 31st. So, but it's a great event. I pinch myself every day because I don't know how this happened, but it is a passion project of mine, and I love it so much.
It is my favorite conference. I go to a lot of wealth conferences. I go to a lot of accounting conferences. It is by far the best conference out there, and we have a lot of fun. And it's the gala. Do we have a theme for the gala yet, Randy?
Well, so we're going to be in it's called, the whole conference is Innovation Expedition. And so we're kind of, it's Denver mountains. We're kind of leaning into something with a Western theme a little bit. So I don't think it's official yet, but you may see me come out in some crazy outfit to do the introduction the first morning. So, but the gala event will be a lot of fun. There will be a theme, something around West and mountains and hiking, or some Wild West. Who knows? We'll see what happens.
Cowboy Randy. I like it.
Sounds like there might be some saloon activities.
Oh, saloon activities are definitely involved in all our conferences.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much, Randy. Thank you so much, Susan, for contributing to the book and coming on the panel.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Rory.
All opinions expressed by Rob Santos and Rory Henry on this website podcast interview are solely their opinions and do not reflect the opinions of Arrowroot Family Office LLC or their parent company or affiliates, and may have been previously disseminated on television, radio, internet, or another medium. You should not treat any opinion expressed by anyone as a specific inducement to make a particular investment or follow a particular strategy, but only as an expression of their opinions. Past performance is not indicative of future results.